Good morning. Welcome to my channel. My name is Shoshana, and I want to talk a little bit about leaving toxic relationships or leaving relationships that don't serve us anymore, and how difficult it can be to break those ties. And sometimes we stay for years and years and years after we feel that we want to move on because of fear or because of dependency or um, for various reasons: fear of change, settling, not feeling like we are worthy of something better. That what if I leave this and I won't have something better? Um, or the fear of having to do that transitional period, because that transitional period is going into the unknown. So we can imagine a life that is much better and much broader, but we don't see how we can get there from where we are. And the thing is that when we stay in a relationship or we keep ties with people that we have already outgrown, or that, during the spiritual awakening process, we broaden and we change and we shed all sorts of uh, behavioral patterns, or we shed versions of ourselves and we become new. And many times the relationships that are in our life are relationships that we formed in the past, sometimes many years ago, that answered our needs at that time, but that we have already strengthened in those places and we don't have, and it is a mismatch. It has become a mismatch. And what it is doing when we stay is holding us into our past or holding us back from our expansion. So when you have, especially very close relationships, let's say like a spouse in your life, especially if it is a toxic relationship, and many times the spiritual awakening is triggered in those of us who have deep insecurities, and then we begin to strengthen. But the relationships that we have in our life are relationships of dominance over us, because we formed those relationships when we were in a weaker state. And then as we strengthen, those relationships want to try to hold us in place or want to try to hold us down, because that is the dynamic that already has momentum within the relationship. That is the base on which the relationship was even built. And so a lot of times it can be super frustrating, especially since there are reasons that we form these relationships. There is genuine love there or connection. And the fear that, what, I'm going to be alone, what, I'm not going to have that person to, because when you leave, break a relationship and leave, it doesn't matter if it's a friendship or a spouse or whatever it is, right? Because when you form a relationship, there is a dynamic there and something in the energy, some combines. And then when you break it apart, right, sometimes you lose aspects of yourself, or the things that you don't want and you're pushing away, but you're also losing the things that you do like and that do give you security and a sense of partnership or love or whatever it is that you are getting from that relationship, right? So it's not an absolute. So when you let go of that relationship, you're not only letting go of all the toxic things that you don't want, you're letting go of also the other things that actually serve you. So in my own life, I was married for years and years and years. It took me, when I finally left, it was after 17 years, and I finally divorced after 20 years. And it was a very incompatible, toxic relationship that I had been in for years. And I had wanted to leave. There is no absolute here. All right. There are a lot of things that I did get during that I did accomplish. And obviously, there were reasons that I did stay. It gave me a sense of security. It gave me a sense of I'm not alone. We have four beautiful children. We built a business then We had moved, we had moved away, very far away from any of our family. So we were very codependent on one another. And there were things that we were very compatible in, like in the workplace. We worked together, we were together all the time. And to break that away, and I got married when I was very young. I was 20. I was just shy of 20 when when I got married. So I didn't even know myself. I didn't even know who I was. So when I went to leave, when I finally did leave, um, I can't say that I was some kind of big hero in it, because it was like I could not stay any longer. It didn't matter. The pain of staying was so much greater than would be any of the unknown. And the reason that I stayed for so many years is because I felt weak. I felt like I couldn't do it on my own. I've never been really on my own. And I was afraid of making a living. I was afraid of not having a relationship after that. Who's going to want a divorcee with four kids? I had like these pictures in my mind that I have let go of since. It's been a good, maybe we're going on 13 years or 12 years that after the separation. So I've come so far from then. So it's just I'm looking back at how difficult it was to leave, how difficult it was to break that bond, and especially when you are in a relationship with somebody who's very dominating or dominant and kind of forceful. You're also afraid of the separation itself, because you know that it is going to be a like an explosion. And anything that you can think of, that almost anything that you can think of, I went through. And when you think of like the stigma of a bad breakup, uh, almost every single thing on that list I had gone through with the separation. So speaking from experience, and the most difficult thing is that rip apart. It feels like you're being ripped apart, because when you are together with somebody for so long, your lives merge. You don't know where you end and where they begin, and you don't know what the difference is. You don't even know how you do things anymore, because there's a combined way of doing things. So that was something that I didn't expect, is that when I left, all of a sudden I didn't really even know myself apart from the relationship. I didn't know how I wanted to keep house. I didn't, there were things that had over the years kind of behaviors of the home itself. How do you manage a home? All of a sudden there were things that I realized that weren't important to me, that the only reason that I was doing them is because they were important for him. And all of a sudden your entire who you think you are, your entire identity changes. But with that, you gain yourself, and you gain so much power. And when you are in a relationship, or any kind of keeping people in your life that are toxic, that are not good for you, that are controlling, that are dominant, that relationships that don't work with you, they are holding space in your life. And not only holding space in your life, they are interfering with your natural way of being. So you have a natural vibration. And if somebody is off vibration and they are in your life and they are toxic and they are negative, or even just off with your vibration, it's creating something where you can't focus, because there's interference. So you're not free to just be yourself. You're constantly on edge. You're constantly in this state of protection, and you don't even know who you are. So without making that change and removing those relationships, you don't have a chance of coming into your own um, self-awareness and who you are. And it is difficult. It is one of the most difficult things, because it's also very elusive, and also very confusing, because a lot of times you second guess yourself, because you're going through difficult times. Separation is always difficult. You're going to be going, and you have to want that separation so strongly, because you are going to have that other person fighting or kicking, or you're going to have conflicting thoughts in your own mind because you're breaking habits. And your habits are a thought process that has been going on, a pattern of behavior that has been going on for so long that you cannot tell the difference between what you truly want, your higher self, and that thought process. So it's tricky. And just know that there is a time of transition, and then that confusion is part of it. It's part of coming into a place of owning your own. And if you stay in a relationship for years and years and years that doesn't serve you, you're losing your life. That relationship is taking up space for and time of a relationship that could better serve you. And there is a buffer time in there in between that it will feel like a void. There will be an emptiness. And a lot of times we don't do that breakup because we're afraid of that void. But once you go through the void, then you have your whole rest of your life there to bring in what does suit you. So after that, after in my own life, after the breakup and after the divorce, you come to a place where there's no way that you're going to put something into your life that is just a space holder, because when you break up or when you leave dependency, all of a sudden you find your power and you find your worth and you find what is exact for you, and you're not willing to go back into a situation where you have to give over your power. And so you will not let anything into your life that isn't aligned with you anymore once you find yourself. And the taste of finding yourself is so sweet. It is like not having that interference anymore. It's being able to find yourself and exact yourself and what I do want and what I don't want, and to be able to like purify yourself from. And once you're able to do that and purify yourself and find that golden thread of who you are empowered. You lose that dependency, first of all, so you feel your own power, and you don't have to be afraid of it. It's something that happens naturally during the process. It's not something that you have to, oh no, I have to work at this now to find that. It's something that happens on its own, because when you find the power to leave behind those toxic relationships, it is an inherent part of that process that you find your power. Because when you find the power to leave, it empowers you, just that act. So there isn't something that you have to start searching for and grasping for. It happens on its own. And one of the big things, and it was difficult. It was a process and it took a while. But when you start setting that process in gear and in motion, it happens on its own. And there's like a tipping point. Once you start leaving and once you start tasting that freedom, there's a point of no going back. And a lot of times that point of no going back is while you are in the relationship itself. There's like this tipping point. It's like a chink, no way. There's no way that you could even, doesn't matter what the unknown is, because the fear is always, there's always going to be fear in there. And especially if you're in a dependent relationship where your finances are connected and your home is connected and your lives are connected. So you're not only losing that relationship, you're losing all of those other aspects of your life that you have built together that are co-creation. And then you're off on your own. In the beginning, it feels like you are a lost, and that you are only half of a person. And that is natural because it's like two energies that have merged together and you're starting to tear them apart. There's going to be places that you don't know uh, who you are, uh, where they end, where I begin. It feels like you're being ripped. But I will say that it is so worth it to find yourself, because if you are holding on to relationships that don't serve you anymore, they are holding space in your life of what does serve you. And when I finally did it, when I finally broke, one of the things that I really had to get over, and it took me a while, I went into really mourning, I would have to say, um, of why did I wait so long? When I finally did it and I realized, I mean, how simple it was. It simple, not easy. It was very difficult, but it was simple. It was simple. I was like, I could have done this years ago. I went into like this mourning over all of the years that I had stayed, all of the productive years of my life that I stayed and remained in this relationship that was really out of tune with me, with who I am, dominating. And I'm not in a place of being a victim. I realize now that I did the best that I could and that I had to have gone through all of that in order to get to where I am now. So it has served me. And had I been able to do anything different, I would have done it different at that time. So there were reasons why I stayed there, and it has brought me to where I am today. Because if you would have told me 15 years ago that I would be sitting in front of a video and just talking my personal life out, I would have said, no way. I shied away from cameras. I shied away from people. I was so insecure. So I had to go through that. That was my life path in order to get to the place where I am right now, in such a place of self worth and self understanding and acceptance and confidence and love and knowing my capabilities. And going into the unknown is scary. It is scary and is very difficult, especially if you are, because a lot of times when you leave, you are leaving on your own. That means that this other person doesn't want you to leave. So they're going to be trying to hold you in place. So not only do you have all your inner conflicts and inner like rips, but you also have this external telling you, don't leave, things will change, I'll be better. Nobody's on the flip side of that, right? Is nobody's going to want you. You can't do it on your own. You'll never make it. I'm the best you'll ever have. Nobody's going to want you. You're never going to succeed. Um, so I'm speaking about my own experience, and it doesn't mean that you are in that same dynamic, but many are, and 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 it can be very difficult to find the strength if you have to find that strength alone, if you don't have a support system that and many times our own parents will tell us, no, what are you going to do, start inflicting all sorts of their own fears onto us. How are you going to make it? You can't do it. Society will tell you, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And when you start moving, when you start just saying, okay, I'm going down this path, that's it, and you are looking straight down that path and you're not looking backward, and and you just cannot continue on this path anymore, and you start moving down that path, the whole universe aligns and makes that path for you. Sometimes you can't see it when you're in the thick of it and you're in that pain and you're going through the unknown and having to move and having to do all of these things that bring you out of your comfort zone, but that's where you find your strength. But you will see that the whole universe opens up, and you know what? The old has to break down in order for new to form. It's just like now that I'm moving and I still don't know exactly where I'm going. I still don't have a plan, but I am packing up. That's why the house, I'm not even going to try to, but I have set in stone that I am moving, and that is happening. And the old has to break down in order for new to form. So a lot of times we see our whole life start crumbling and we don't see where we're going yet. But that has to happen in order for new to even have the opportunity to come in. And a lot of times there's also in that buffer zone, there's a time of healing, a time of change, a time of finding who I am, finding my legs to stand on. And so we can't always see the entire path from where we stand. We can only see the next step. And as long as you keep in motion, and the further you get away from it and you look back, you'll see how everything was divinely guided, and how even during the difficult times, those things had to happen in order to bring you to where you are now, in order to bring you to a new dawn, a new life, a new way of being. So I'm sending you guys so much strength. And if you are in this process of leaving relationships behind, removing people that are toxic from your life, that don't serve you anymore, that are aligned with who you used to be and not aligned with who you are now. During the spiritual awakening, I've done videos on this before, we leave so many people behind, so many places, things that we were completely attached to in the past. And we start releasing, and that is a part of this. We cannot expand if we're holding ourselves in place, especially if we're holding ourselves in place on things that don't suit us and aren't aligned with us anymore. So change is difficult. Change is going into the unknown. There's fear there. It's like a baby comes out of the womb. It's like you don't know exactly where you're going, what you're going to do. But you can also do alchemy with that and change that into excitement. Oh, wow. I'm in a place where all options are open. I don't know what I'm going to do. So everything is available and open to me. And let me see, I made a couple of notes here, things that may have served us once: attachment, and you can also do it in steps. And that's something that I realized, that once you start doing it, it happens in steps anyway. You start slowly moving away from that person, spending less time with them, and you start creating that space and a gentleness. And sometimes you just do it like that. Sometimes it's just a pivot point. It's just like, boom, that's it. Can't do it anymore. And something in your mind goes switch, kind of like what happened with me with this apartment. Something just went, tuk, that's it. I'm moving. It was like, when it happens like that, it's easier. but it doesn't always have to happen like that. Sometimes it can just be like, I just can't do this anymore. You start feeling that frustration. You start feeling like there's something much larger in you that wants to expand, and it's confined in a small area. And it can feel very, very frustrating to be in that situation, but you don't know how to make that change. So it's baby steps. Just start moving towards what you want. Just start. First, it's a mindset. First, it has to switch in your mind. You have to realize that is coming, and that is what you're doing. And a lot of times we have that already knowledge that is coming, but we just don't take the physical steps to do it. So there's a lot of pain in that, because that is a gap between where you are mentally and where you are physically, when you've already made the decision, but you're still procrastinating in the 3D world. So it's just start putting things into motion. It could be as simple as going and getting a box and just start packing. And then you'll see that just that act alone will start stirring the mud at the bottom of the glass. And there's no going back from there. And then you just start moving with whatever comes. It'll start leading you. You get one box, it'll lead to another box. You start having a pile of boxes like I do next to the door. And it just starts, you'll start seeing that things start moving out and things start moving in at once. So you start creating this flow, and you can't see the end of the road while you're at the beginning of the path. So yeah, so when you do leave, so when you do finally leave, you do leave. When you leave relationships or remove people from your life, you leave space for things that are more attuned. And think about it. If you just be you and remove things that are not aligned with you, the things that naturally love you and are aligned with you will start flowing into your life. The more you can become authentic with yourself, the more you will have an authentic life, and the more uh, people that are attuned to you and that love you and that see you and that like you, that are like you, will come into your life. If you are over here and your signal is all scattered because you have all of these different people and with different vibrations in your life, how are the people that are really attuned to you even going to find you or see you if you're out of attunement with yourself? So trust in the universe, and it's all an experience anyway. 100 years from now, it's not going to matter. You don't want to get to the end of your life and go, oh no, I didn't really live my life like I wanted to. Now, at least if you go out and splurge and do things, you may fall on your face again and again and again. That's life experience. The best stories that we have are the times that we fell on our face and we got back up. So, and it's all just an experience and a perception of how you take it as well. So if you take it like, oh no, I'm doomed, you're going to feel doomed. And if you take it like, oh yay, an adventure, then you're going to feel like it's an adventure. So it's all in how you take it. So I'm sending you guys so much love and so much strength. This video came to be because of a comment that I received on the last video that I did talking about moving on from relationships that no longer serve. So I hope that this was helpful. And I'm sending you so much love and so much strength on your own journeys, and really reassurance that it's all doable. Just set things in motion. And I know how difficult it is too. So sending you also, like a big hug. And if you would like to meet with me one-on-one, my contact information is in my website below. Thank you so much.